This week on New This Week, we're going to talk about comics that are
new this week. Hey, Django.
Huh.
It's Wednesday.
Again.
What'd you read this week,
Every
buddy?
week there's a Wednesday.
I know, I love it. You
I
can
read-
set your clock by it, really.
You could. Yeah, you like your week clock.
What'd you read?
I read Jessica Jones' Blind Spot #1. It's the first time that not Bendis has written a book about Jessica Jones, like a solo Jessica Jones book. And Kelly Thompson took it over with Mattia De Iulis
Yeah.
on art. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I read it as well, and it is astounding. So this is the second Kelly Thompson Jessica Jones book that's come out.
Yeah.
They've been coming out digitally first, which is kind of interesting, and it's interesting to read a book that seems to be made to be digitally released. I felt like on some of these pages, the way that it was double page and the 9-panel grid and you had to go all the way across.
Yeah.
I think that was an instance of this comic showing how it was meant to be digital.
Right.
Not that that's a problem at all. I think the comic was fantastic. Like, Kelly Thompson is a writer that has written a lot of stuff at this point, and some of it I like a lot, and other stuff I'm not as crazy about. And I think this is my favorite thing that she's done yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. It sets up a really good mystery. It's got good dynamics between Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. And at the end of the issue, a pretty dramatic thing happens, and I was nervous for her.
So what's interesting about this one is that the artist, Mattia De Iulis, that's pronunciation, did all of the coloring as well. And I think that the light sources on this were super impressive.
Yeah.
Like, all of the instances of them in her office with, like, the light coming through the blinds gave it that, like, very extra hard-boiled noir, like, vibe that was present throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful setup, and definitely going to read the next one.
Definitely going to read the next one. Excited about it. I love when Matt Murdock walks in a room as a lawyer and is just like, out of my way. She's going to go with me. You guys are breaking the law. Jessica, you're good. You get that, like, you don't even in Daredevil's own comics ever feel like he's got a handle on anything. Yeah. So when he appears as a guest character and just locks it down, you're like, oh.
Super badass.
Thank God Matt Murdock is here.
Yeah.
Yeah, super good book.
And then a weirdo white thing.
Yeah,
like
Star Wipe.
Cool.
The second issue of Red Mother came out this week. Jeremy Haun and Danny Luckert.
And Jeremy Haun did Beauty, The Beauty, which was like about an STD that makes you beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting book.
It is. That book, so he kind of rose to prominence because that book won like a pilot series.
Oh, okay.
Like, that pitch had the best first issue, which, as you say it totally does.
Great setup.
Yeah, great setup. But this is a way more horrifying book. I didn't like this issue quite as much as the first, mostly because it didn't have quite as many moments of humanity from the protagonist.
Okay.
Like, this is...
She's more scared this issue instead of working through some of the trauma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was really interesting. I'm excited to see whatever this horrifying, haunted Red Mother that's following her around is. But he writes really effective characters, like the brother to the missing boyfriend. Like, we only see him briefly, and we still get, like, a fully flushed out character who has motivation, and you can see how, like, the girlfriend of his brother is able to bond with him. And I was really impressed with that. Did you like this more or less than the first issue?
I remember liking the first issue, but while I read this one, I really liked it. Okay. So if you asked me right this second which one I like more, it would be this one. But if I had a better memory, maybe they're tied. Maybe I like #1 better. Who knows?
How about that Nirvana teaser at the end?
Did not. Oh, Heart in a Box.
Heart-shaped box.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, you're just setting me up to look like a Nirvana noob.
Well, listen, if it's Transformers or Nirvana, I know that you're just gonna walk into a trap. Yes, Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain. I really liked Dead Eyes #4. I have been more and more impressed with this series. Last night when I sat down to read this, the cover made me laugh out loud, all alone at home. And it's just got more like inventive fight scenes. It's got more sort of takedowns of the medical industry. There's a scene where he's using a saw to find the find the money hidden in a wall after he stole a money-smelling dog from the cop shop.
What happened to that guy's fingers?
Yeah, he cuts them off with a saw.
Those things got shot off.
Yeah. No, they got cut off.
Beans, look at that. Okay, so I know that you like an inventive fight scene. You're able to like point it out. For me, I kind of gloss over and I'm like, oh, it's a fight scene for 4 pages. But you're like, no, he used the oxygen tanks in an interesting way.
Yeah. This book, Gerry Duggan.
Yeah.
Like, he wrote something that we really liked last week, too.
Savage Avengers.
You know, Savage Avengers. He's doing Dead Eyes. And John McCrae is one of my very favorite artists. He also did Hitman.
Yeah.
With Garth Ennis a few years ago.
That's
one of the few comics that made me cry before I started working here, and you and Justin taught me how to cry.
Oh, buddy, I'm glad that if I have a legacy, it's that I taught Django how to cry and bleed. Django, when I got here today, you made me sit down and read 5 Years, number 7. I'm like 2 issues behind on this series.
8:30 a.m. before we open, you're sitting down reading comics.
Yeah, and before I got here, I was sitting down reading comics.
You're a powerhouse.
But thank goodness you did make me read this, because every issue of this series impresses me more and more with what Terry Moore is able to do with pen, paper, and ink. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And this is, to me, like what black and white comics are, what they should be. I think this book would be less if it were in color.
I agree.
And this is basically kind of a slow chase scene through the snow the whole time. But a really cool thing that happens is after Kachu has been pushed out a window, she's visited by the ghost of her dead romantic partner from Strangers in Paradise, and he's able to get her out of the snow and kind of come back to life. But then, as you pointed out, there's like a really great wordless, several-page, slow, menacing chase through the snow.
Yeah, and it's a fast read. I read it in like 2.5 minutes, and then I was like, wait a minute. I didn't give this comic enough.
2.5 minutes for a whole comic is not the right flow.
Normally, I would be upset about that, but after I finished it, I was like, oh, wait. I got to read this one again and really give it some attention.
And like I've always said, nobody draws better snow scenes than Terry Moore.
He draws every flake.
It's amazing.
Every one of them.
Every single one of them flakes. Yeah, and just like these large vertical shots of her falling out. Like, and the plop sound effect made me laugh out loud. He's a master. Like, he's a modern master, and he's super humble. And I think if anybody hasn't heard of Terry Moore, they should totally go out and look up an interview with him, because he's incredible, and he's humble and soft-spoken, and one of the most talented people out there. And he self-publishes all of his comics.
He's fabulous. And I'm embarrassed that I think the last 2 years or 3 years is probably all of the Terry Moore I've read. I haven't read Strangers in Paradise.
It's super long, so that's understandable.
I just it was never on my radar. But this is amazing, and it makes me want to go back and read 1,000 comics that he's done.
You'd have to read 1,000, yeah.
I got a comic I didn't read this week.
Oh?
Yeah.
You know what's cool about that comic is you could read it now.
You could. It was a $1 comic. It's the Adventures of the Batman Adventures number 12, which was Harley Quinn's first appearance. And it's kind of cool that we got that in this week, because earlier this week we got the first printing of it. And it's one of like the most valuable, exciting comics of the 90s. Yeah. You know, if you get a box of 90s comics to look through, you're looking for
Spawn number 1 and the Batman Adventures number 12.
Deadpool,
Cable,
Spawn. That's it.
Harley.
Yeah. It's super cool to get that like an original copy of that in. Yeah. Because this is maybe like the second or third one that I think we've got in the store since I started working here. And that's rare.
And I love this feature of our video cast because it allows us to do my favorite thing with new valuable comics, is give it the finger spin test. But that's a pretty good looking condition one.
Yeah. I put it at a 7.5, and $350 comic at a 7.5 that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting week of comics. It was a pretty thin one. I think the year-end stuff is, we're still balancing out of the huge DC week of 2019, and then Marvel had like 7 books this week. But
such a small week.
Yeah.
But you know what? I got to read everything that I took home last night.
Okay.
I still have to take home like 3 comics, but
I've still got to read the question. Excited about that.
Me too.
Well, hopefully, with this small of a week, we still have lots of friends that will come visit us.
Oh, yeah.
As we open this bird up.
Snow schmo.
Snow schmo. Yeah, that's true. There's like 4 inches of snow out there.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get it done.
All right, let's open this door.
Open the bird.